Thank you, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Producer Matt.
All right, so we're going to say Gentilly.
Okay, we can't talk bad about Nico, okay?
Well, we would never do that.
I'm just kidding.
Okay,
The fact
you
that
ready?
he's not here, though.
All right, you're on vibrate?
We're kidding. Oh, my gosh, you could see yourself. How it's nice, huh?
Yeah, that's why I flipped it around.
Oh, you did that or he did that?
I did that.
Oh, okay. I need to stop this because you're...
Yep, that would be good because we're going to start.
Anyways, Nico, I was just kidding. If because Matt's going to hear this and he'll be like, oh, we're just kidding. We just wish he was here, huh?
Are you ready?
His loss. Yeah.
Are you done?
You know what's funny? He even texted me saying, make sure you let me know when Jared's there. Yeah, and failed.
Fail. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Today with Jared James. I'm not sure if you'll hear our beginning convo or not. I guess that is up to producer Tom. For anybody watching this on YouTube or somewhere else, maybe on Spotify, something like that, you can see that we are in a different place right now because I
Different time
am
zone.
in Fresno, Fresno, California, with Miss Linda James.
He's at his other home.
It's correct. Very nice. So I am here in Fresno, and big thanks to Gentilly Real Estate, who is friends of ours. We went out to eat with them recently. Longtime friend of yours. They're also a brokerage-wide client of Jared James Enterprises, which seems weird to say, but but they're also a brokerage-wide client as well. So they're going to be in for some treats in the next couple of months when we launch what we're doing with that platform, which I'm so looking forward to.
And they're also a First Up client.
And they're also a First Up client, FYRSTPU.
Yes.
Nope. SYRSTUP, First Up.
They've
Can I hear it in a
definitely
sentence?
they've definitely invested in their agents with tools.
It's why we're friends, let's be honest.
And that's why we're here.
We are only friends with people who pay us money.
Oh, it's so sad. Do you buy your followers?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
God,
just
yeah.
kidding.
There you go.
No, I'm kidding.
Anyway, so we big thanks to Gentilly Real Estate for letting us in here, Fresno, California, obviously. I came in, so we'll cover it first. So I was coming straight from the social mastermind. I actually want to talk. So guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about the NAR CEO being named permanent. We're going to talk about, you wanted to talk about this housing fund registry. We're going to talk some Michael Ketchmark with some remarks that he's made, with the plaintiffs when they sued the industry and, what that means. That's a good one right there. We're going to talk about Zillow now saying that they have created the Super App, the housing Super App. Gosh. But before we get to all of that, we're going to start with dessert and talk about our lives. Okay.
There we go.
So I had just come in. I know a lot of people ask, how do you do it? She lives in California. You live in Connecticut. How do you guys do that?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of planning. Takes a lot of effort and intention. A
lot of travel.
And, look, we both are in a situation where, I have my kids 50% of the time, and then 50% of the time I don't. Although, I'm still with them all the time. Mm-hmm. Luckily, me and their mother get along great. I mean, when we were in town, we literally went over her house with her fiance with your kids and just kind of hung out, made pizzas, doing pool, whatever. So, that's been a work in process, but that's been something that need to be done. So that's all good there. So although I have them 50%, I don't, it's not like I only have them or see them 50%. But what we do look at is when I don't have them, as long as there's no major games or major whatever, what's the trips, what's the whatever, we try to plan some things. And I was going into Vegas anyway for the social mastermind, which went fantastic.
For your social mastermind.
Yeah, for the social mastermind. And it's so funny because you always go from, 2 days is a lot of content. How are we going to do that too? There's not enough time. Mm-hmm. And so we will for sure, I wasn't sure. I was playing it by ear. We're for sure going to do another social mastermind because it's just great info.
Yeah. Honestly, it's needed. I don't think anyone can say that they have mastered their social. They've mastered it. They know everything, all the algorithms. They got it down to a T.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing. It's tech. It's supposed to change.
My favorite part was in 10 minutes or 15 minutes when we started, one of the attendees, it was $49.97, and I don't mean just under $50. It's
it was an investment.
It's a $5,000 ticket. We put 15 people in a room, and one of the attendees in the first 15 minutes goes, well, I just made back more than enough of my money. And I'm like, well, still stick around,
Yeah.
okay? We're just opening right now.
Yeah.
And it was so cool just seeing the light bulbs go off with people where like people don't understand social. And I hate even calling it social because it's modern day marketing. And it was so cool to bring people in a room and go the ins and outs, the boring stuff, of like what I do and how I do it and how you get more views and understanding the algorithm and all the changes. And I mean, I was doing stuff right in front of them. I was building things right in front of them and showing them. One thing I showed them, I was like, guys, check out how this works. And I built the campaign. I did everything right in front of them. And, within 10 minutes, 500 plus comments on a post, whatever. And they're just like, what the crap? And I'm like, yeah, that's how it works, And so that was super cool. But I was in Vegas and nice, easy flight, come over to Fresno. So if you guys are wondering how it works.
Like a hop, skip, and a jump.
Jumped over to Fresno. We had the kids the first couple of days, your kids, and then I'm here through Friday. And then I fly back and my kids got a soccer game Saturday. And we're talking every day, all day. And
just before that, I took my kids to Connecticut.
Yep.
And we stayed the week there.
Yeah.
So we find time.
We make it work.
Great.
And it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually was just telling a friend of mine on social that we see each other more than out here in this area than a lot of firefighters see their family.
Probably.
You know what I mean? It's like, and people quite honestly think that, I mean, a lot of people don't even know that you live out of the city, out of Fresno.
Yeah.
That you live in Connecticut,
yeah.
And vice versa. And so, but it's cool though. I got a text message. I got a couple of them. We're at the gym. One was we were at the gym working out and someone shot me a text message and said,
I'm a zoo animal in the wild.
Said, I saw you and Jared, but I didn't want to interrupt. Tell him I said hi. I was like, I mean, they don't want to like get near you. Me, if you weren't there, they would have come up to me
and said hello, but they
I don't know.
Such a scary guy. So scary.
And then we took the kids to school and they had breakfast at school.
Yeah.
Like another message from a dear friend of mine who's also a realtor here. It says, man, it made my day seeing Jared at my son's
he goes,
my kids' elementary
did I just
school.
see Jared James at the elementary school?
At my kids' elementary school.
Yeah, that's
But it's just
we are
fun,
actually
though.
married.
Yeah.
We do all things together. We do little things.
And honestly, like, come up and say hi.
Let's not go crazy.
Oh gosh, stop. You're a nice guy. I mean, I think he is.
I'm just kidding. No, very, very much. But it's we do all that kind of stuff together. Obviously, we're married. And it's so funny when people still say, so like, is he coming to Fresno? And it's like we're married, And so it's intention, it's whatever. But like honestly, when I look at our quality time, like I know so many couples who are together every day and they're not together every day. They're not intentional about their time. There's something that it forces you to do when obviously we FaceTime all day and we do whatever, but then when we're together, it's just like a much more intentional thing. And, you're much more affectionate and you're much more like, you're just happy to see that person. I mean, I looked at you the other day and I just started laughing because we were still a day in and I saw it on your face. Like a little puppy dog, her tail is wagging, and I'm talking to her and I just burst out laughing. And like, that's why I was laughing because the look on your face was like, hey, you're here.
I know. It allows us to appreciate each other more.
Yeah.
Like in the time that we have together. Because although we see each other quite frequently, a lot, than most couples that are long distance, it allows me to appreciate the time together. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's cute. So, it's cute. I'm talking to Grayson earlier or yesterday or today. I can't remember when. My older son. And I've got him on speaker, and Linda just goes, "I miss you."
I know, I do.
And Grayson's like, "I miss you too." And I was like,
"Yeah,
it's adorable thing." So anyway, we make it work, but we just got done with that social mastermind, and it was fantastic. I can't wait to do another one. I'm already thinking about the stuff we're going to switch up, and it's just so important. Like you sent me this article, and it's just so true. Like when you talk about, again, we call it social, but it's just modern day marketing. Like you sent me a thing where like CNN during like prime time, political stuff going on and everything, during one of the weeks in the not too distant past, averaged 86,000 viewers a night. Like think about that, 86,000, and those aren't even targeted viewers. That could be people in airports, that could be people with it on in the background, that could be whatever. And then I started thinking about it, and I was looking. And like I put up a video an hour and a half ago on one platform, it has 52,000 views. You know, the other platforms, when you put them together, an hour and a half ago, has more than CNN is getting.
Yeah.
And social, like, that's targeted. That is like, they're looking at the algorithm and going, let's get this as clear as we can to your specific customer. You know, when you're an agent, it's like, let me go put this in front of your local buyer. Like, those views are so much more powerful. They're so clear with the end user. And it just goes to show you, like, I was looking at that and I'm like, man, people just aren't watching that old school legacy media anymore. Like that, you know, it's just like we can literally put something out and get more views than CNN.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's so crazy. It's so crazy and it's so cool. And I want everyone to be able to take advantage of that, but we only put 15 in a suite at a time. Now, on that same note, we got a lot of, you know, real estate business stuff to talk about that, you know, some of the stuff is serious. Like some of the stuff I'm going to go down today and just kind of like literally break down articles on some stuff, you know. But the first one that happened was the NAR CEO, who was the interim CEO, who took over, by the way, post-settlement. A lot of people have gotten on this and said, well, she took to settlement. No, she didn't. She was post-settlement. But Nykia Wright, I hope I'm saying that right, but pardon the pun. Nykia Wright was now named the permanent CEO of NAR. And, you know, I put this video out and about this because I think a lot of the members of NAR are not thrilled. And because she has absolutely zero real estate experience. And I don't understand how, and I don't know her, I'm rooting for her. But I think a lot of times I speak my mind, but I also sometimes feel like a voice for, you know, the members and for agents and for brokers. And I think a lot of them just thought, you know, hey, nothing against her, but shouldn't we have someone who understands our industry at such a time as this? That's not learning on the job at such a time as this.
So I wonder how the selection process goes, because when I was sitting on the board of directors for a local association as an MLS exec, when we hire out, especially in executive positions, we either look internally or we ask the state or the national association to assist in looking for someone to become president or become whatever it is of the association. So I wonder how why did they go outside of their leadership?
They didn't really go outside. They went to Chicago, which is where their headquarters are. Well, it's almost like they didn't even want to pay for a flight for someone to come in and interview. They grabbed somebody from a newspaper industry, a dying industry.
Why didn't they allow someone that is a realtor that's representing the realtor group?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't know. I didn't dive deep into it at all whatsoever, but it's very interesting that looking at, from what I have read, like her background really doesn't match up at all.
At all. And here's the other thing. So my thing is, again, I'm rooting for the industry, so I want her to do well. But that doesn't mean that I don't criticize the selection. I think you criticize those that you love and want to do better. That's how you hold them accountable. Like when one of my sons does something and I go up and question him, why'd you do that? I'm not doing it because I don't love him. I'm doing it because I love him. And it's a voice of correction and accountability. And I watched an interview she did on another podcast, and I was really kind of hopeful. Like, let me see this girl. Like, you're not going to make up for the fact that she doesn't have any real estate experience, but let me just kind of see who she is. Like, you can figure things out. I always feel like if you put me in just about any role, I'll figure it out, and then we're good to go, right? And I'm like, well, maybe she's got that. And maybe she does. But on the podcast, she came off as just PR puppet. You know, just pull the string and what's the answer? Pull the almost no smile, almost no whatever. It was just like I'm going, oh boy. And then at the end, this is what really got me. And I talked about this in my reel on the social profiles platforms, was just at the end, they ask her, you know, you could tell they have a certain amount of time and then they got to go, you know? And at the end, they ask her, hey, if you could give one message to your members, to the industry, to whatever. And I'm going, this is her moment. Here she goes.
Come on, girl, let's go.
I know you guys are not familiar with me, you know, but you know, if we band together, I have a dream. Like I'm waiting for like this, like, you know, and no, it was a critique, and it was, you know, you all need to keep things in house. Stop complaining publicly. Everyone's watching. You're hurting us with the consumer. And I'm going, this is the one message This is your chance. And at a time when transparency is at the forefront, that is the opposite of transparency. It's like a bad relationship, okay? You've been in this before. Like, when you just don't really get along, but you're supposed to act like you do. And like everywhere you go, it's like, you don't talk about our stuff. Like, you don't say anything. Don't say anything to your girls. Don't say anything. And like everything is supposed to be like everything's perfect.
It's every picture.
And everything.
Picture perfect.
Yeah. Like I said to you before this podcast, I said, you keep that fake relation. No, but like, it's like, you ever been in that though? Like it's, and that's what I felt like. I felt like she was telling us, hey, they're watching. We're going to a party now. There's no problems. Smile. We kiss. We hold hands. Do not talk about, whatever. And I'm going like, this is what we're doing now. Now we're going to act like the house is clean.
That is so interesting.
We're really going to throw everything under the bed now and just go. And I'm going, that is the opposite of transparency and not the message that we needed to hear right now. What you need to do, and they say, when she says keep it in-house, that implies there's a two-way conversation going. Like as if there's a house we go to.
Yeah.
And in that house, you speak and we speak. And we're hearing each other. And we're talking back and forth. And I don't know if someone has that address of where that's happening. But I think I think part of the reason that members are so frustrated right now is because of how in-house everything's being kept. And when I say how in-house, I mean those even in a relationship didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Because if you remember correctly, when the settlement broke, you know who didn't know? The 1.5 million members.
I know.
They heard
Yes.
from that same media that she worked for. They heard from them.
She did not, really?
They did not hear from NAR. They did not, guys, this is what's happening. We need to get ahead of this. We're sorry. We're either going to go bankrupt or we're going to settle here. Unfortunately, we've been forced into this position. This is what's coming out. This is what people started hearing and rocked their world going, what does this mean? We're paying out 418. What? What do you mean we've been caught with price fixing and what? And they're going, and it was all in-house until it wasn't. Yeah. And so you can't be upset when the membership comes back and goes, yeah, you and I have a credit card together and your limit's not very high. Mm-hmm. You're not putting a car on. You can put a Matchbox car, but you want our silence? You don't have the credit limit for that. And I think the overall membership, so I put out a video about that. And I got to tell you, go listen to the comments. I think they agree with me. Mm-hmm. And yet, I guarantee you, someone there is watching my stuff, watching whatever, and going, he's got to stop. He's got to stop talking about that. It's not looking good. It's not. How about give me something great to talk about? Mm-hmm. Because I'm pro NAR. You know, I'm pro. I love Kevin. I'm pro NAR. Give me something to say, here's what we're doing. It's a new day. Here's what we're changing. Give us a chance to win back your trust. You know, this was not a good position to be in. This was not don't tell us to keep things in-house when we don't even know what the address of that house is.
Mm-hmm. The record of things so far with NAR just doesn't look good. It's just not. But I am still, like you are, just hopeful. We're not anti-NAR.
No.
We're not.
By the way, we're pro.
Yes, absolutely. We want it. And for the realtor, the party. But it's one bad behavior after the next. It's like a child. I told you what, and you're still doing it? Like what?
What?
But you know what's so crazy is it's controlled by the membership. Like we're the ones that keep them there.
Well, that was one of the things people kept saying in my comments. They're going, so when we appointed her, did someone here get a vote like that I'm paying my dues and didn't want? Like who is putting these people in place? Mm-hmm. You know, like what is happening? It's like whether you love, hate, whatever. It was like the Kamala. I don't know the right way to say her name. And then people get all mad. I think it's Kamala.
Call her K.
No, I don't think that's. But everybody gets all upset. But like at one point I said like, so we just put her there? We're not voting anymore? We're not whatever. It's like the same kind of a thing. It's like, when did we all have a say in this? Like when did that happen?
And I think that's the biggest struggle too is they don't have a voice. Yeah. Yet they pay dues. And they do all of this. They keep the organization afloat.
Yeah,
they're due, but yeah, you don't have a voice.
It's and I think so. Yeah, it's and by the way, I don't think, at least I can only speak for myself. I don't mind disagreeing, and I'm not saying I disagree with her. I don't know her, but I don't mind disagreeing with the decision, but at least allow people to be a part of the decision. You know, it's like when you vote for president and you lose, right? Your candidate loses. Me personally, then I get behind the next person. I'm like, well, I'm rooting for you now because I'm pro-US. That's all that matters to me, right? And so, but if we just turned into a dictatorship, this person is the king now, this person is the queen now, this person, at least we know that we had a part of that process because we're voting. I think in a lot of this stuff, people just felt or feel left out of the process with a lot of the stuff that's going on. And saying like, what are you, some kind of Gestapo over here? Like, we just pay your dues. We pay all of your salaries. Yeah. You pay out tons of money for reality shows that nobody watches. You guys pay all this money for a settlement. You guys pay all this money to these executives. And like, we don't, like, we're just siphoning money from us. Yeah. And what are we getting in the end? Our whole world just changed.
I can see that. I would think, and I'm not sure, but being on a board and being in a lot of these association events and NAR events, state and local, and national, typically you have board of directors that are appointed, and then you have directors on a state level, and then you have people that are appointed on a national level, and then you have an executive team. So I wonder if the executive leadership at NAR are the ones that voted, and they're voting on behalf of the membership, which obviously we all have the opportunity to vote if we choose to be directors. Yeah. Not everyone's elected as directors, but like still, that just really means that we're really hoping and banking on the executive leadership team to make a right, solid decision on behalf of 1.6 million members.
Yeah, I would just expect that there would be certain qualifications.
That's what it is. I think that's to me is more baffling than it is like, oh, I need a voice. Okay, I understand there's processes, and I could have a voice if I chose to be a director, but it's the qualifications that, to me, don't make any sense.
And then I started seeing in my comments, you don't like her because she's a black woman. No. I'm sorry, what?
I think
that never even entered my head. Like,
I'm sorry,
first of all, I'm married to
I'm Middle Eastern, but one of your mentors in life was Black, African American.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I started seeing that, and I'm going, "What the heck are you guys talking about?" Like, literally,
nothing to do with pigment.
I don't care if she was Indian, like if she had real estate experience. That's all anybody. But that's the world we live in now. Now, whenever you critique anything, that is a legitimate critique,
or it's like she's a woman.
Yeah, oh, she's a woman. It's because you don't like her because she's a woman.
You know what's interesting?
Like, God, there's plenty of guys I don't like. There's plenty of I don't like. If you were to want to get it, I don't even think about that. Like, it doesn't, I want a qualified person. And again, I'm going to preface again, I'm not saying that she won't do a great job. And I'm saying that I'm rooting for her. I'm saying that the membership, and I think they're rightly so, is questioning what was the decision-making process. So when we talk about transparency, I think they would love for the leadership to break down the decision-making process of how you get that job with no experience in that field at all. And maybe they have great reasons. Mm-hmm. Maybe there are amazing things that much of the membership is not thinking about. I, for one, am open to that. Like, I really am. I think people get frustrated because they see those kinds of things happening. They're going, what is the criteria here, especially at a time like this, where it's more important than ever who's in that role. And nobody's talking to me. Nobody's telling me what the process is. That's frustrating. And I could see why people are frustrated with that, you know? Mm-hmm. I think that's where they're coming from, personally. Yeah.
Some message from her would be great. Something that probably brings clarification.
Yeah, it's just, this is why, members. You know, I've heard people throw out the thing that she has a history of turning around whatever. I mean, if her last job was at the newspaper, I'm not buying that. Because I haven't seen the latest newspaper that turned around and took over digital. You know what I'm saying? Because I keep hearing that. Again, it's like PR. She's a history of a turnaround agent. She's a turnaround agent. Your last job was at newspapers. Like, what happened? Selling fax machines? Yeah. You know, didn't work out.
Okay, I have a question for you. So let's say NAR calls, I don't know, her executive assistant says, you know what, Jared, she would like to be on your podcast.
Let's go.
Ask some questions. Bring some clarity to you and your audience.
I am not anti.
Cool.
I want, and again, a lot of times when I'm talking to, I'm not just talking for me. I'm talking about the membership. I'm talking about, look, I get thousands and thousands of comments, and I look at them and I go, what's the overall sentiment right now? Mm-hmm. And you try to be a little bit of a voice on their behalf to go, hey, This is like my way of making sure that they are heard.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Okay. And when I think it's legitimate, when I think it's dumb, I just reply. Sometimes I'll reply to comments and I'll just be like, that's what you wasted 8 seconds on? Like, are you serious? Like, that's just dumb, But when it's legitimate, which I think is legitimate, then whatever. But, you know me, like, I'm open to, whatever, like, if it makes sense. It's just kind of like,
It'll be interesting. I mean, she's, how many days in? We'll see.
As the permanent, but I mean, she was already as the intern. But
you
know what? Like I said, like, unless it's PR, I haven't asked him outright, but, Kevin seems to like her. Kevin Sears. He seems to think really highly about her. Again, I don't know if that's PR. I haven't asked him personally, but publicly, they seem to talk very well about each other. And that holds some weight with me, And so what I'm saying is just that these are the concerns of the membership, and I understand. Okay, but I think everybody is rooting for the captain of the ship they're on.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody's on a flight.
Yeah.
Gets on and has a bad experience with the pilot and goes, I hope you have a heart attack halfway through this flight.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens to everyone on that flight? It's not good. And so when you see people criticizing the CEO now of NAR, I think most people are rooting for her, but they just have questions.
Yeah.
And I think that she needs to be a little more open to doing almost like what Kevin Sears has been doing. Any invite that's taken, go sit down and talk.
Sit down.
Answer questions.
Available.
Answer tough questions. Look, not dumb, but like in some questions, just being like, just taking the heat, taking the shots. That's not the vibe I got from her in that interview. In that interview, she seemed to feel that they had all the answers and that they were, and it was just kind of like, come on, you need a little bit more of a pulse of the membership right now, because these answers, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, we screwed up, we messed up. It's kind of like when President Trump had the assassination attempt, and then he went to the Republican convention. I forget what it's called. If he had gotten up there and been a new man and said, someone tries to take your life, it makes you think about things. It makes you realize so much of the stuff that I say and I think about and that we spend time on and sizes of crowds just doesn't matter. What matters is this country. What matters is us coming together. I have a new take on life. He would have won the election by 20 points. But can't help himself. He's got to, read the script of what the writers wrote and then go off on and on about all this other stuff that just has nothing to do with, it just doesn't matter. And it just doesn't, like, some people just don't have the, you got to read your audience here, And I didn't get the feel from her that she was reading that audience as far as what her membership actually thinks.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I'm like, we have had several new leaders and interim leaders, and the past, not even a year. Yeah. The turnover is just very high right now.
Hey everyone, I want to take a moment and talk to you about a really cool company called Privy. If you were listening to this episode or even moving forward here, you're going to notice that I'm going to talk a lot about investors and how I think this is a huge part of the market that if you're growing a real estate business, we're not paying enough attention to. I'm a big believer here that sometimes to grow your business, you don't just have to pick up a piece of the pie that's already there. Sometimes you have to go to a completely different pie. And it's so interesting because when you look at it, you look at all the data and you see that, 26, 27%, almost 30% of all residential transactions in the last 12 months were investors, right? They were investors. And when I was an agent, like a ton of the business that I did were investors. And so a lot of you hear that and you're like, oh, it's institutional investors. Institutional investors only make up about less than 3% of the overall market. And that's actually going down for the first time in years, which means that we have this huge number of people who are buying and selling properties all of the time, right under our nose, thousands of transactions. They're going to happen regardless. The only question is, are they happening with you? And that's the key thing that I want you to understand. And so when you look at Privy and what they do, they make you the go-to person to work with when it comes to finding investments, when it comes to finding out what a good deal is, when it comes to finding out what the right neighborhoods are, what the wrong neighborhoods are, what previous people had did, all at the touch of a button, right? And so all of a sudden, it's funny, I look at their stuff and I'm like, I worked with all these investors when I was selling real estate, and I'm like, how did I do this without this kind of a tool? And you don't have to do that. Now these kinds of tools are there. And so you're going to hear me in the future talking a lot about working with investors and what that looks like. And like I've said over and over again, it is my job to not only tell you what the problems are and what the solutions are, but ultimately to give you the tools that you need so that you can be the go-to source for something like that. And man, are these people worth a lot of money to you. So do yourself a favor, guys. Go to privy.pro. That's privy.pro. Amazing tool. You can ask us questions. There's more things even coming down the road with them that are just going to blow you away. But this is a tool you need in your business, especially for what it costs. It's not a cost, though. It's an investment, but it's well worth it. Let's start getting those investors. Yeah.
So we'll see. Very hopeful.
Yeah, it's almost like I almost look at it like I do Taylor Swift's boyfriends.
There you go.
Okay. Makes for a lot of good songs, but when someone keeps having relationship stories, at some point you got to go, there's a common denominator here. You know what I'm saying? Every guy wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? At some point, Taylor, you might be difficult to be with. Gosh. And so when you see all the leadership change in NAR, at some point, members, are you going to wake up and start to go, maybe there's an issue in the organization that keeps eating these people up and spitting them out and killing them with PR and making them look like terrible people. At some point, do we look up and go, there's a common denominator here. Mm-hmm. Taylor Swift's had a lot of boyfriends.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got to look at it like that. And that's going to, now that's going to be the thing that everybody's going to be like, the Swifties are going to come out now.
Oh, gosh.
How dare you? She is perfect in every way. I'm sure somebody with her schedule and whatever couldn't possibly be difficult to be with.
We'll see how it goes. Like her first big, I would think, I don't know, appearance to membership is going to be our NAR annual event at the end of the fall event coming up. And it'll be interesting to see.
Keep podcasts like this, they might ban me from
attending. You still pay your realtor dues, so you get to go.
That is true. I still have a license. I still have a broker's license. That's 100% correct.
So that's also very interesting because you are a realtor and you're a broker. Mm-hmm. You don't practice real estate now.
That wouldn't be good for business anymore.
No, you don't.
But we collect commissions when we buy places. We get referrals when we go.
Yeah, you do a lot of referrals. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because you speak on behalf. It's cool to see your perspective. Yeah,
I'm a dues-paying member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like to me.
And you know me. I don't mind spending money. I don't like wasting money. Mm-hmm. Two different things. How many times do I say that? I say that all the time. You know me. I'll spend money. Like we spend money, right? I don't like wasting money. Mm-hmm. That's a different thing.
And I feel like a lot of members are thinking right now it's just a waste.
Yeah.
And their annual dues most likely will go up.
That's the other part that cracks me up. Here's the funny part. That was the other thing she was talking about. And this is what bothered me from a PR. I'm so glad you said that. NAR keeps pushing this narrative lately that through all of this, though, membership has not dropped. Membership has gone up. Guys, renewals are in January. I
know.
How dumb do you think we are? Okay. And so whenever I hear people doing that, that's when it starts to bother me because, now you're playing the PR game. Because you're playing to the lowest common denominator. You're playing to the lowest, the people who don't understand. The renewals aren't every month. How would membership have dropped?
Pay it once a year.
We can't cancel when there's not a renewal due, Mm-hmm. And so the idea that we're now putting out in the media and we're saying in interviews that the membership didn't drop, now that tells me that you guys are talking behind the scenes and that you are coming up with good lines to try to steady the ship. Not based on reality or truth, but based on, the best version of the facts that we can give. And we all know you can make facts say anything you want in the world. And so when you say the membership is not dropped, McFly, the renewals are up in January. You would not know if membership dropped until January. Yeah. So why are we even talking about that? Mm-hmm. It insults my intelligence. When you say that. And I bet the majority of people listening to my voice right now or watching me right now have heard that and gone, oh, wow, that's surprising it hasn't dropped, and haven't even put together the idea.
Which, quite honestly, they should be looking over year, you guys. If anything, is what you're looking at. And if it did drop, it probably has nothing. It's not a bad drop. It's getting rid of those that were going after what you call fool's gold, you know, when the whole COVID situation happened, everyone jumping into real estate. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see just, you know, end of Q4 going into Q1, how all this unfolds. But I'm super curious to see how the NAR event goes and how she portrays herself in public.
I'm going to try.
She does not seem like a bubbly, friendly, nice a person.
And you don't have to be, by the way.
Which is fine.
You don't have to be, but right now that's kind of from a PR perspective.
She doesn't feel like a safe space. There's no safe space with her.
Put a smile on. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, maybe in that podcast she smiled a couple times, but like it was very poker face.
Very like, you know, here we are.
But like you said, you don't have to be all bubbly and friendly and all that, but at least approachable.
And by the way, I understand from a PR perspective, like, you know, they're thinking about litigation and attorneys and what she says, and you can't say this. And I get it. Like, I really do. I understand that. Mm-hmm. I also get it that it didn't come off good. Okay. Like, it just didn't, you know? So, will be interesting.
Yeah.
See what happens. I'm going to try to make it there. We'll see. I got a busy fall. Our own event is less than a month away.
I know. I'm excited
the Jared
about
James
that.
Advance, Orlando, Florida, September 19th and 20th. So looking forward to that. Content changes every day because there's so many things happening. But we're not going to spend the whole time talking about this stuff. Go watch my Instagram. Go watch whatever. You can do that. But I want to really get down to like what do we do moving forward? That's all that matters. You know, I made a video last week. We can all disagree. We can all be pissed off. Go say your favorite cuss word. Kick a wall for 5 minutes. But on minute 6, how do we move forward for the sake of us, our consumers, our families? Like, that's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to talk about today.
What you got, boo?
Mr. Ketchmark.
Yeah.
So Michael Ketchmark. This is the lead attorney for the plaintiffs that basically sued. We'll just call it sued our industry.
Yeah.
You know, it blows my mind how you can sue NAR, win, sue RE/MAX, which is NAR members, win, sue brokerages under RE/MAX that are over $2 billion when RE/MAX is paid already, NAR is paid already, win. I mean, it's just like, good God, how did this? And so there's a couple things I want to talk about with him today.
Go for it.
Just give me a moment here.
Yeah.
So he just did an interview with Inman News. And I'm going to actually go through that interview because I think there's some important stuff that people need to hear in this interview. I have been saying for how long now they're coming back for round 2. I have been saying that I think they specifically won on the merits they did because it allows the industry to think they're following the rules when they're still not, and then they can come back in and sue for round 2 based on the same argument as round 1. And he basically says that in this interview. Like, so I'm going to break down some of these questions. I don't even think you've seen this yet. Am I correct?
Yeah, so it's going to be very new.
So this is, I'm going to take over for a second here. You jump in if you want to jump in, but let's go over this interview. Okay? So interview with Inman News with Michael Ketchmark. Mm-hmm. Okay? This poor fella.
What a name.
So I'm going to skip through all the early stuff that it goes through, you know, blah, blah, blah. But guys, he's the head attorney for the plaintiffs that basically, we're just going to call it sued our industry. Okay? Mm-hmm. And first question they asked, we're gearing up for this August 17th deadline. Wanted to check in to see what you're doing on that end. What is it that you get? I don't think there's any value in that answer, so I'm gonna move on. Other than he just talks about how they're looking for people screwing up and there'll be swift legal action. I'm not gonna go into that right now. Okay. He said, "What are you?" He mentions that he's watching all these webinars and other things of people teaching how to move forward. We're watching people's socials. We're watching people's.
I hope you're watching us, Michael.
Yeah, And they said, well, what are you seeing in these webinars and forums that's concerning? Because they're looking for what's wrong. And he says it's concerning what we're seeing. This is so interesting to me because, remember, I've been saying now for the last month or however long it's been, you better get rid of broker-to-broker comp. It doesn't matter that wasn't part of the settlement. They're going to re-sue based on it, okay? And so you literally have people who are teaching according to what's allowed in the settlement, which is still giving out the seller co-opting their commission or their compensation to the buyer's agent, right? Because that's still allowed. So let's look at this interview. They said, what do you see in that's concerning? He said, there's a huge desire with some of these large corporate brokers to continue this because they are literally tens of billions of dollars that have been fleeced out of the pockets of homeowners. And there's a hope that they can continue to do it. But they're not going to be able to. The agents and brokers we're talking to understand this. Okay, so first off, let's just You agents out there that sold all of these sellers' homes at record prices, he's describing you as fleecing the homeowners. Let's just be clear.
Yeah.
Make that make sense for me. Record profits. You fleeced them. Go look up fleeced if you don't know what that means. We're starting to get reports back from agents and brokers, is what he said, in large cities that they're already seeing the commissions are starting to drop. I remain hopeful that that's exactly what we're going to see happen, but it's going to take a while. Just do me a favor here. When you sued the industry because we were fleecing sellers, because you thought that it was the wrong way to do business, because you don't believe that the compensation should be determined up front, you believe the seller should pay the listing agent and the buyer should pay the buyer's agent. What does that have to do with commissions dropping? So your real goal was to control the amount of compensation that is delivered, because that's exactly what you're saying that we as an industry did.
Yeah.
You're showing your cards now and saying it wasn't about what was right for sellers or buyers. We want the commissions to drop. What? When did that become your goal?
Yeah.
Because you just said it. And then he talks about it's going to take a little bit of time for the free market to adjust to this, but it's going to happen. What part of going after an industry and litigating them into submission was the free market? Because you know what was the free market? Before you got involved, Mr. Ketchmark.
I know.
That was the free market. You decided to go litigate the free market and change it to what you thought it should be. Newsflash, that's the opposite of the free market. Do you not understand that? You could see that when I read this, I'm just boiling over. This is idiocy. Shall we continue?
Yes, I want
We could go the
more.
whole time just on that. That's not the free market. When I make you do something, I don't go, isn't it nice to have free will?
Yeah, I know.
When I tell my kids, you can't do that. How's it feel to have choice? This is so
It's very
ridiculously
contradicting.
stupid.
Yeah.
Okay?
But it's crazy is he is showing his cards. He's letting everyone know.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, continue please.
In what ways do you think they're still trying? In what ways do you think they're trying to still continue? This is what the question was. People are talking about setting up third-party websites for commission sharing, or that they could create new kinds of forms that they have that they don't put on the MLS, or other kind of things behind the scenes. The rubber's about ready to hit the road, and really, that's what's going to be important to us. It's not what people are talking about, what might happen, but what does in fact happen. First off, I don't agree with these third-party sites for commission sharing. Where does that break the settlement?
Correct. Because
It's not on the MLS.
Because the rule specifically is
So
MLS.
you are now showing your cards again and saying, we're coming after that. Just like I've been saying now for months. Remember, babe, you're with me behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Have I not been saying this?
Yeah.
He's full of crap. He's full of crap. Those third-party sites, by the way, are called the free market. It's a free market. They make it or they don't make it based on what? Merit.
Yeah.
The free market. But you're saying you're going after them if they come out. That's not the freaking free market.
Oh my God.
Like,
That's
okay.
wild.
It's also not part of the settlement. That's allowed. Third-party sites are not the MLS. Mr. Ketchmark. There just needs to be loud and clear warning to everyone who's out there that they need to be careful, because it's not only going to be the settlement agreement that is going to have the force of law. As anyone can imagine, the Department of Justice is now he's speaking for the Department of
DOJ, yeah.
Justice. You think they haven't had backroom deals? The Department of Justice is very interested in seeing how this is going to play out. And we fully expect the DOJ to be actively involved in shutting down any attempts to create new legal conspiracies. So now whatever wasn't in the settlement that they agreed to is now a new legal conspiracy. I'm telling you, because it's the continuation of broker to broker, which they are not going to allow. Okay? Hear me, guys. I can't say this any clearer to you. I said this in a video recently. We don't have to agree. They are not going to allow broker to broker comp. Okay? But it's the free market. Then the question was followed up. I'll get back to that. In terms of the forms you mentioned, are there any provisions you're seeing that you're concerned about? Mr. Ketchmark responds, right now I don't have any concerns about what I've seen out there or what I've heard. I could stop on every line here. You just said you were concerned above. You just said you're paying attention. So why are you bringing it up if you're not concerned?
Yeah.
But I hesitate to take any position on what actual forms are going to be there because I've seen so many different drafts. But you can imagine they're all of these different local MLSs with all these competing entities that are out there. By the way, all they're doing is they're back watching how the industry adjusts and then figuring out what their next move is to still be able to sue. That's all they're doing. They're not looking for what's right or wrong. They're not looking for whether you follow the rules or not.
Could you imagine?
They're going, what's the industry standard everybody comes up with and what's our in? How can we re-sue? That's all they're doing right now. Ultimately, what's going to matter to us are the forms that are actually used and replaced with, not what people are saying may be done or drafts are the ones that are done. When this comes into effect, if there are MLSs out there that are using forms that we think are in violation of the agreement, these are the people who also think we price fixed, are in agreement or that violate the law, we're going to take swift action. Okay? Well, the California Association of Realtors, the question follows up, took out broker-to-broker compensation on their forms. Is that an example of something you would like to see? Or is there still something concerning about their forms? The back and forth that we've seen with some of these large associations, like provisions being in there, provisions being taken out, those are the types of things that I'm talking about. But until I actually see the new forms that are being used and the new documentation that's being used, it would be irresponsible for me to comment in a vacuum because I have no idea if what I've heard about or what I've seen reported is ultimately what's going to be there. So he hasn't read or hasn't seen everything that's in the public. Like, you're so full of crap. You guys just said you have people out watching everything going on. Now you haven't seen. I've heard of the back and forth. And although it's something making me hundreds of millions of dollars,
he gave out way too much
I'm paying no
information,
mind.
and now he's reeling back. That's it.
I think there's a large desire in the industry to have the plaintiff's attorney somehow bless this material or bless this information. We're not going to do that until we see how it's written and how it's used in the real world, which, by the way, if your real concern was the sellers, why would you not say, no, guys, do it this way? You don't have to go to court to do that. You could literally, because you care about the sellers, say, don't do that. This is the way you're not breaking the law. This is the way we believe. But no, we're going to hold off because we want to litigate. But if we find things that we think are in violation of the agreement, we're going to take action. In other words, we're looking for things to take action on. Question comes back. You mentioned different interpretations of the new rules. What interpretations are you seeing? Not a day goes by where someone doesn't send me some type of an Instagram or TikTok or a Facebook page or something on X or on a social media where someone's saying, hey, this means this or this means that. And that's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of that. There have been some forces out there that have created some uncertainty as to what the requirements are, but the requirements are real straightforward. No, they're not. You just said in the earlier part of this that the settlement may not be far enough and that we're waiting to see. And I'm sure the DOJ is going to have something to say as well. And we're looking at it to see whether this violates or that violates. We're not sure yet. It's not clear. How can you say that's clear and straightforward? You literally just said.
Oh my gosh. If you were doing this interview and conducting it, you'd be like,
wait a second.
Let's go back.
Let's go back a second. He says you can no longer use the MLS as a vehicle. This is so important. You can no longer use the MLS as a vehicle for sharing cooperation or for fixing prices. That's what he calls it, fixing prices. If anyone thinks they can get around that, they're wrong. If we see anything out there where there's an attempt to violate that fundamental premise of this settlement agreement, now we're back to the settlement agreement. It matters again. A minute ago, it didn't.
Yeah.
But now we're back to the settlement agreement. That's what we're going to take action against. Okay. This is so clear. So the question comes up again. I don't know if you saw an article I wrote about our Inman Connect conference where the panelists on stage were saying, don't make preemptive offers of compensation. Just say your seller will consider all requests and wait for the buyer to put it in their purchase offer. Then somebody in the audience said, hey, are we doing it wrong? Because our buyer agents are calling the listing agents to ask what the sellers are offering. So is that wrong? I don't hear anything wrong in there. Mm-hmm. Someone's got to know what they're getting paid.
Correct, yeah.
Someone's got to know if it was allowed to still do broker to broker, which is what the settlement says. How do we find out if they're offering or not if you're not asking?
Yeah.
Okay? He says, we're not going to weigh in on these hypothetical questions. Okay, first off, that's not hypothetical. That was straightforward.
Happened. Yeah.
That was the actual question.
Correct.
My involvement in this for the last 5 years, we'll get into that in a second, has told me that the resolution of the right or wrong is so fact dependent upon what actually is happening. This is just a jump around of words right here. Like he's just jumping around to not answer the question. I know when the plaintiff's attorney says something, meaning himself, that the industry can rely upon that and they can use that, or they can think that that guides their behavior. But the guiding behavior that they need to be worried about is that they can't violate antitrust laws. I think that's why they asked the question, Mr. Ketchmark. Isn't
So
that
they make
why
sure that they
we're
aren't.
asking with the person who set the rule?
And it's not no hypothetical.
They can't use the MLS or those vehicles as a way for announcing that they're sharing cooperation or settling the commissions. And if anyone's doing that, it's going to be a problem. Whether or not specific behavior violates the terms of the settlement agreement is going to depend upon the circumstances of when it happens. We're going to call balls and strikes when the ball crosses the plate, not ahead of time. So in other words, the settlement doesn't matter. He will not be clear about what the settlement means. We're going to call balls and strikes means we are just going to come after people because we have found a cash cow.
Oh my gosh.
It's unbelievable.
I can't even imagine being in a relationship with that guy. That is awful. There is no clarity. He doesn't even have clarity for himself.
We will call balls and strikes as they happen. Lawsuit, we'll let that one go. Suing you, but wait, is this okay? Have to wait and see in the lawsuit. Like, this is just... So then the person follows up, which makes sense. She's like, so preemptive offers of compensation are allowed under the settlement, ? If the seller decides, I do want to offer, this is seller deciding, I do want to offer to put the to the buyer's agent, and I want you to not put it in the MLS, but you can put it on a flyer for my house or on the listing broker's website or anywhere else. That's what the settlement says, by the way. You ready for this answer?
Oh, gosh.
I think we're all clear right now. That's what the settlement says, right? Not on the MLS, but you
Correct.
can...
Yeah.
You ready
the
for this?
MLS is the only place.
You guys ready for this? Drum roll. You ready? I don't know. I have to look at what's being done, how it's being done, and apply it to the terms of the settlement agreement. I'm not just going to say yes or no on a question like that. It's going to be dependent upon the facts. Wow. What? I told you they're coming for broker to broker.
I mean, not only for that. There's going to be round 3, round 4.
They are coming for broker to broker.
Okay. So after this interview, everyone, I mean, those that have read it, this is my first time hearing it.
We're not done, by the way.
Oh, we're not?
Nope. Go ahead.
Continue.
Okay. Next question. But the settlement says that they're not prohibited outside of the MLS, and I just want to know if that means they're allowed. Even if something's not prohibited, it doesn't mean that the way that they're doing it is okay. If a seller is being coerced or forced into making an offer of compensation. So in other words, if a seller offers, it's because they were coerced or forced.
Isn't it interesting how he puts these words into like people's... No.
Literally, her question said, if the seller wants to. If the seller says, please offer it. If the seller... And he goes... And his assumption is sellers being coerced or being, because his goal is to sue the industry, and his goal is to lower his goal is to price fix, to lower the commission. That's his goal. I continue. There's all kind of factors that could go into creating some type of illegal sharing provision. So the settlement is not the settlement. It's just going to depend upon the facts and how it plays out. She says, you mentioned you're going to be looking at what happens. Are you doing anything this week or next in terms of prepping for this deadline or deciding how you're going to police it? Sure. There's a team of lawyers from all of the different law firms that are involved in this. Several plaintiffs' law firms with entire teams of attorneys. By the way, I thought you said earlier you're not paying attention to everything. That's why you didn't know. I don't know. I've heard about things. I don't know. I haven't really.
And I bet you they're all getting some type of...
And now there's teams.
And I bet you they're all getting compensated somehow to do all of this.
We have weekly calls. Wait, I thought you didn't know. I thought you didn't know. I thought you weren't paying attention. Now you have teams of people and you're doing weekly calls. I mean, it'd almost be nice to have them on the stand. Like, it's just like, there's so many, and we're taking very aggressive steps to prepare for the launch of this. Launch of what? We plan on staying on top of it as it rolls out. Freaking Gestapo. Who are you? God. She replies, can you elaborate on the steps you're taking? No.
I knew that was going to happen.
Other than I would tell the industry that they better mind their P's and Q's and comply with the law. But by the way, who determines what the law is? He does.
I mean, he should mind his own P's and Q's.
Because this is a hard fought for change. A tremendous amount of effort and energy went into obtain this on behalf of the homeowners and sellers in our country, and we're going to make sure that it's carried out the way it needs to be carried out. By the way, you screwed every buyer in the country, Mr. Ketchmark. So it's very selective who you're going to defend, okay? He says, I don't think there should be any doubt in the industry of our sincerity when we say what we're going to do, but I'm not one to let other people know what our preparation is, other than we're preparing. Round 2, everybody, like I said, how much clearer can it get? He's coming for round 2, okay? So when you see the EXPs and the Reals and all these major places going, we're not doing broker to broker anymore, he's coming for round 2.
But you also have to understand, and he made it very clear too, yeah, there's most likely a round 2, but even the other ways that you're trying to do things, third-party sites, so-and-so, there's other avenues.
Which is allowed under the provisions of the settlement. Now he's going,
no.
I don't know. He's telling you I'm coming.
Okay, real quick though, before we move forward, you mentioned that you could tell what side he's on, but the seller side versus the buy side.
Well, until it becomes convenient to go after the other side, but yeah.
Quite honestly, I want to even agree that he's 100% on the sell side. I feel like he's hurting a lot of those sellers as well.
Of course he is.
So he's on neither side.
Babe, we don't believe anything he's saying.
Yeah. I'm mentioning
He also
that,
says
though.
we're fleecing homeowners, that we're doing nothing he's saying is true.
He's not for either side.
He's after he's for his side.
Correct.
He's for cash bag.
That's what I want clarity. I want those to know. It's not just he's not.
Yeah. No, he's for cash. Okay. Literally, the question said, if a seller says, I want to offer out so that I get a better, well, if they're being coerced or forced, he can't see a world where that would happen. The world that just existed with record home prices under that, it's crazy. They said, so how soon do you think we'll see? Because he keeps saying, we'll see. I don't know. Will that preparation be visible in some way? Hopefully, the results will speak for themselves as we start to see the sales go through, as we start seeing commissions dropping. So that was the point. As we start to see the free market work, I can't hear him say free market. I can't hear that anymore. And disruptors come in and change the industry. It will be more the fruits of our labor that we'll see instead of the actual labor. In other words, no, you won't see it. We'll be hidden behind the scenes. She then says, will there be any immediate repercussions for MLS or brokers who break the rules? Yes. First time he actually says yes, because it involves litigation. If anyone's breaking the rules or violating the agreement, let's go back to this, though. It's not about the agreement. You've already said the things outside the agreement that you're going to come after. So stop referencing the agreement. Stop referencing the free market. Stop. You don't believe in any of this. Yeah. Okay? You're full of crap. If anyone's breaking the rules or violating the agreement, we're going to look for the opportunity. We're going to look for the opportunity to make example out of anyone who's playing fast and loose with the law. The last thing that we're going to want to be is the person that does that or the corporation that does that. I'm happy to have somebody serve as an example of what happens to people who violate our antitrust laws. Hopefully what's going to happen is it's not going to happen. Yeah, okay. Hopefully, we're going to find that these MLSs start complying. I've always maintained that I really believe that it's in the best interest of the real estate industry and it's in the best interest of these brokers to compete in the free market. I can't with that.
No, the whole free market, the MLS.
This is your market.
Yes.
It's not the free market. The free market was happening. When they do that, I think that the strong brokers who are bringing quality services and doing that either on behalf of buyers or sellers, that they're going to be rewarded and they're going to be paid. People have always been willing to pay for quality service and quality care. We'll get to that in a second, Mr. Ketchmark, with yourself. If you're buying a home, they're willing to pay for that. If a seller wants to negotiate with their agent in a free market, they can do so. Let's just let the free market work. I agree. Hopefully, in the end, I think that the industry is going to realize this is a good thing for the industry. She says, you mentioned potentially making an example of brokers or MLSs who are breaking the rules. What kind of actions would you take? Litigation, lawsuits, court orders, injunctions. Then he get the Department of Justice involved if they're willing to do so. Okay? What people need to realize is that antitrust laws, they're not just civil, they're criminal in nature. And at some point, this behavior can cross over to the criminal realm. Now we're going to prosecute criminally people selling homes. Like, they're going to go to prison now? Would you have to do anything special in order to have it cross over into the criminal realm? We would refer it to prosecutors if we believe that there's something illegal criminally that's happening. So the prosecutor would have to file something as a criminal case? Yeah, that's something we could do. Is anybody hearing what I'm saying right now?
Oh my God.
Selling homes, getting people record prices, we're going to come after you criminally.
Wow.
We have weaponized the freaking what do you call it? Litigators, attorneys, what's the word for them? That world. We have weaponized them on a level. Like, we got to get this under wraps, guys. With you can just sue for anything, and you can litigate people into submission whether you're right or wrong. Like, this has gotten out of hand right now. Like, out of hand. And he said, "What do you anticipate the DOJ would do?" He says, "I don't know." Yeah, okay, you don't know. I would never presume to speak for the Department of Justice. You just did that. You just did that. Okay? And I would never make predictions. You just did that. In the last paragraph, you said what they were going to do. Okay? But I've met with a lot of the high-level folks. Oh, wow. Wow. So these aren't presumptions then. I met with high-level folks at the Department of Justice as well as frontline attorneys. This is a dedicated group of people who's given their lives to the enforcement of these laws. These are heroes, people. These are freaking heroes. I tell you what. You have them and then the military. That's how I look at it. You know, these people saving homeowners and then the military. I mean, that's what I get when I read this. They really, truly want to bring about change here for the American homeowners. Is this guy running for office? Got my vote, because he seems like a real stand-up guy. I fully expect that they're going to be prepared to take actions, even unrelated to the settlement. Anybody just hear that? He just spoke for the DOJ, who he doesn't know what they're going to do, but he's had plenty of meetings with them.
Yeah.
I fully expect that they're going to be prepared to take actions, even unrelated to the settlement. So here's the settlement, still gotcha. But change is going to come here, whether people want it or not. Gestapo. And then she says, "You think they're going to be watching?" I would imagine so, but I'm not basing that on any inside information, just my belief. You just said you had backdoor meetings with them.
I know.
You just said that.
Yeah.
God, I can't stand this guy.
He's not the most brightest crayon in the box.
And then she says, we're coming to an end here. To get back to actions you might potentially take if somebody's violating this, is there going to be some sort of grace period or like a week later? Or if they're breaking the rules, then, because like clearly we don't know what the rules are. Depends on the severity of it. We have a whole arsenal of things we could do, as simple as sending out an email, making a phone call, sending a cease and desist, filing a lawsuit. Just depends on how severe. But in other words, how much money we're going to get. That's really what they're saying. Okay. And then he talks about how people forget that the vast majority of the money was stripped away from local agents and was used by these large corporate brokers like Zillow and others. Now he's on the agent's side. My belief is when it returns to the local brokers and returns to local control, that it's going to be better. I truly believe that these local agents are going to do the right thing. And he goes into whatever. And then she says, when you say the vast majority of those funds have been stripped away from the agents, what exactly do you mean? He says, I say how this NAR rule was being used by companies like Zillow and others to say, hey, if you get a referral, you have to pay back a huge portion of the commission back to these corporations. By the way, that's just a business model. I don't know when we started litigating that. They have every right in the world to give out a lead and only charge a referral.
Correct.
If that sells. That's
Correct.
A business model. I guess we're back to the free market conversation that he so believes in. It really was being taken out of the pockets of the local agents. Who is this guy? Like, this is crazy. She said, you haven't sued Zillow as far as I know. Nope. Our belief is that the change that they're taking place here are going to stop that. What Zillow was doing was going in there and using these local MLS rules and set their business model up on top of this illegal conspiracy. They benefited from this illegal. Guys, I don't care how you feel about Zillow. They're not doing anything illegal. You can dislike their business practice. You don't
have to participate
You have the
in
choice
it.
to use them or not use them.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ketchmark, that's called the free market.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
understand some people. And she says, so you mean for them to not be able to get referral fees from buyer's agents? Yes. The whole system was set so that commissions are being established at 6%. Go look at your facts. The average commission has not been 6% for over a decade, Mr. Ketchmark. And then it was being split, and then the entire network was set up in order to benefit from that. I think this is disrupting all of that and changing all of that. Freaking hero. Have you had any issues with the settlement process so far? I don't know if I'm going to cover any of that. How soon do you think it will happen? Blah, 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 blah. Any updates on brokerages yet to settle? He goes, I'm getting dozens every single day. What are the biggest loose ends here? Still waiting. Oh, this is important. I'm going to end with this. So what are the biggest loose ends here? Still waiting to be tied up in all this litigation. The next phase of this litigation after all this is over is going to be our ongoing case against Berkshire Hathaway Energy. Money grab. They already got $250 million from Berkshire Hathaway. Now they're after Berkshire Hathaway Energy. Money, money, money. That's going to be the monster case. Trial is set for 2027. It's always off, but in the next year, we're going to start seeing litigation going on there. Our entire trial team is going to be turning our energy and attention to Berkshire Hathaway Energy and holding them accountable and liable for what's happened there. And then she says, so just because home services settled, by the way, for $250 million, doesn't mean that Berkshire Hathaway Energy has. That's right. In fact, a very significant part of the home services settlement was carved out our lawsuit against Berkshire Hathaway Energy and allowing us to proceed and go forward against them. In other words, they wouldn't have settled with them unless they were allowed to go after energy because they think it's a bigger check.
Yeah.
That's going to be the massive fight that remains. The heroes are getting ready. The army is training. So you don't think that will settle anytime soon? No, it's our position that Berkshire Hathaway Energy sat on top of this entire conspiracy and benefited from it. Home services and all the brokers beneath them benefited from that. They're ultimately responsible and liable for this. We intend to prove that, and if we go to trial on that, the amount of damages will be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. This is a friggin' psycho. Psycho.
You know, you always say, there's people that are just bad people. He's just a bad person.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, he's in it for himself.
Yeah, he doesn't come off well.
And his team.
Yeah, he doesn't.
In it for himself and his team.
Yeah, he doesn't come off well.
Not at all.
There's no doubt about that.
So when was this released, this article or this interview?
A few days ago. And so I think you can see my feelings on this. But it doesn't matter. We live in a world where you can... I was just watching an interview with Theo Von and Donald Trump. Great interview, by the way. You got to love Theo Von. In 1 week, he interviews Bernie Sanders and then Donald Trump. And if you know me, I love that stuff because I love hearing all sides and I love hearing what people are thinking and why they're thinking that. I'm not one of these tribal, like so many of you listening right now that you just heard Donald Trump and you went like, you know, I love hearing these people. Like, it's like, you know, and I call out dumb when I see it and I call out smart when I see it. But Trump actually said a very smart thing. And he was talking about, remember I looked over at you because I was playing it out loud and I went, that's what I always say. Like, he was talking about how the world has become a world where you can just litigate people and you can sue for anything. And I think he even said, I've benefited from it. Like, I've done it because it works. He's like, but it's wrong. And he's like, the only way you're ever going to fix it is if you pass a law where you say that if you sue anybody and you lose, you pay all of their expenses.
Well, I think the question was who has the power?
Yeah.
And he said the attorneys.
But in order to pass a law like that, who would it have to pass through? All of the Senate and Congress, who are all former attorneys. It's sick what our world is becoming, where you're allowing these. And look, guys, I'm not the whole attorneys are bad people. I've had plenty of friends that are attorneys that are great people. But the power they can yield like on people is just sickening. I've got a friend who runs a very large corporation. And he goes, the most important hire we make is our attorneys. Because he's like, we can get anything we want if we have the right attorneys. That is sick. Like, that is sick. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next thing.
Man, that whole, just real quick, that whole interview is just exhausting.
That just changed your mood.
That's exhausting.
Yeah.
People like that are all in it for themselves. They don't care. And
we settled, it's not far enough. And they have a game
plan. And they just want to hurt those independent contractors at the end of the day that are really trying to put bread on the table.
Yeah.
Help their family.
Yeah.
You know, create a legacy and bring the American dream to life for people.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do.
Who, by the way, have a very high failure rate. It's such a tough job. You bet on yourself. You don't know where your next check is coming from. You don't know sometimes how you're going to pay your mortgage. You have to budget correctly so that you can buy your kids school clothes before school starts right now. Like, so, all of these things have to come into, like, these are the people that are the bad guys that are fleecing they're fleecing homeowners.
Question for you. Let's say you're in the NAR leadership exec team. You come across this interview article. You bring it to the board of directors. Would you do anything? Is there like a next move, preparation? What should we be doing? Like, is there anything that you could possibly see yourself in that leadership role?
Yeah,
looking at this.
Haven't I already told everybody what to do?
Broker to broker.
Stop doing broker to broker.
But obviously there's more to it. They're not only going after broker to broker.
Yeah, but essentially, though, that's the crux of it all. Remember when I said to you and you thought I was wrong? And I said they left that. They said take it off the MLS. But the whole idea of the price fixing was the idea that you were setting a percentage that could co-opt to the buyer's agent, and that you were setting that percentage before the buyer or the agent were even willing or able to negotiate what it was going to be on behalf of them before they were ever a part of the transaction. And they were able to prove legally that that was the definition of price fixing. I don't agree. That's called an incentive, but all you have to do is have the right jury, okay? And you have to have it proven right once. So once they agreed to that and they said that any kind of co-op means that you are setting a price ahead of time for a party who doesn't exist yet, that you have now fixed the price.
Correct.
Once that was agreed to, broker to broker was gone. Because even though the settlement says you can still put it out here, but you can't as soon as they say you can do it outside, but you can't do it in the MLS, well, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's wrong in the MLS, then it's wrong everywhere else. So why'd you still allow that? Because they knew that they could take that premise, that idea that setting it ahead of time for the buyer and the agent was the definition of price fixing. It gives them the in to argue on that same premise for round two and go, even though you didn't put it in the MLS, you're still doing that. We've already won on the idea that that is price fixing. Therefore, we win again.
Yeah.
Make sense? Hey guys, I want to talk to you about an amazing real estate tool right now called Mosaik. If you want to take your people off of the portals where they're all hanging out and whatever and into your ecosystem, this is the tool that does that. This is a beginning to end, it's not another CRM, it doesn't replace that, but it's a beginning to end system that really looks at the lifetime value of your client and looks at every part of that process and takes care of all of it in a way that's completely transparent. So yes, they've got search, they've got transaction coordination, they've got, even for us when we do things like we teach our students the Core 100, they've got the ability to put those people in there, track what's happening, do all of that in an amazing way. But probably the thing that I love about this more than anything is the transparency. In an industry that keeps talking about transparency, and usually when you hear something over and over again, it means that it's not being done at all. This is actually a transparent tool. This is the first tool that I've seen that actually brings the consumer into the transaction. And I think that is the next level of where we are going within this industry. You hear from so many buyers and sellers that, oh, my agent didn't do anything, or I feel like they're not, and there's not this communication going on. This is the first tool I've seen, almost like the early days of .loop where you had that collaboration, but it was just for the document and the signature. They can do that with the transaction now, not only with the clients, but with the vendors, whoever it is, in an amazing way where they can see every step of what's going on. You can write notes to them back and forth. They can see every part of the paperwork and everything and the way that you decide to show it. It's really the next level of what we need to be doing from a consumer experience perspective, so they know what's happening, and more importantly, we drive that lifetime value back to you. So if you haven't yet, guys, this is a tool you're going to hear over and over again. You're going to hear me talk about it because I really think it's my role to not just define what the problems or solutions are, but provide the tools that will actually get you there. And while so many tools right now are just check the box and just say you have them, this is one yourself, your team, your brokerage. If you're not on it yet, you need to be. This is not the last you're going to hear about this. They're going to grow astronomically, and this is something you need to get on board with if you're going to operate, if you're going to be one of those people that really overcomes and is that top producer in your area. You've got to have the right tools in place, and Mosaik is one of those right now. So do yourself a favor. Go check out mosaik.io, mosaik.io. Again, mosaik.io. You won't regret it, guys. Send us questions if you do, but this is one of those ones that you're going to look back on and remember, amazing tool.
Well, that was exhausting.
Yeah, it's all exhausting. It's all exhausting. Let's move on to another topic.
But just to end that one real quick, you just said NAR should just not allow no more broker to broker.
Yes.
That's what you were saying.
I'm saying that, but here's the problem. Without a settlement agreement, which is why they are able to dictate what they're dictating now, how do you dictate to independent contractors?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
Okay, because they are independent. So you can, it's like when I was talking to Leo from EXP, right? He's like, we're not going to put in our company forms the idea of broker to broker. If you want to put it in the additional information, then you go for it.
And it's just a recommendation.
We cannot tell independent contractors how to run their business. Okay, but we can strongly urge and say we don't recommend. Okay, and that's how you kind of cover yourself. I'm going to keep shouting this from the rooftop, and it doesn't mean I agree. And the more that this stuff comes out, the more that you're saying that is that what I'm saying is correct. It doesn't matter where you stand on this. It doesn't matter. Broker to broker's going away. This is just further proving that. Almost all of their arguments that they want to make and they want to sue on go away without broker to broker. You get rid of broker to broker, all of that standing is gone. Okay? So, on another note, we talked about Zillow. Zillow made an interesting announcement this past week, and they said that the Super App is here.
Woohoo!
Oh, this is going to get agents a little heated.
So explain the Super App.
So they have forever,
I'm curious.
Been buying all these companies, and people are going, what the heck?
And Zillow is a broker themselves.
Zillow just appointed, Rich Barton is no longer the CEO. They now appointed a brand new CEO, okay? And this brand new CEO, I believe his name is, I forget his name right now, but this brand new CEO announced that the Super App is out, and all these companies they've been buying for years, to get end-to-end on the transaction, now it's coming to the fold because they come out and they said, hey, our for-sale growth pillars mark the pathway to meeting our goals to grow customer transaction share from 3 to 6% by the end of 2025. By the way, customer transaction share basically means like the percentage of people who actually go and find their house through Zillow or find it through whatever. They're like, we have every home here, but only like 3% of them actually sell from Zillow, right? And they're looking at it and going, we want people to be able to come into our app with all these companies we own. And we want them to be able to find the home. We want them to be able to get the inspection. We want them to be able to make the offer. We want them to be
one-stop shop.
We want them to do the whole process on our app. Now, where agents fall into that, I'm not really sure. This is the clearest I've ever seen them that they're kind of going, we want to disrupt now.
Yeah. I mean, they are a broker themselves. They do have agents.
That is correct. That is a model that they have.
It is a model. I mean, they don't have a lot, but they keep it very selective, very small, very tight, but they are a beast themselves. Yeah. This will be very interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I'm still reading up on it, so I'm not going to go super in depth on it. But I mean, look, the headline is very simple. They called it the Super App. They want beginning to end. I mean, they're flat out saying that now. Like, if you can't see that,
it's crazy. They could easily lose all of that by an MLS stopping their syndication. Boop, boop. Sorry, we're done. We're not sending you any more data.
Yeah, but with this new information, I think that we're heading to a place where that might not matter.
Possibly. I don't know. I remember when I was in the MLS chair, I was the one that literally signed their RETS data feed from the MLS to them getting actives and sold data. Yeah. I'm the one that has my name on it. And here we go. And but it's all based off of the discretion of the MLS if they choose to give it or not. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting, very much fun to kind of watch on the side. But I do know they're brokers, and I do know they have agents, buyer agents and listing agents.
With the amount of anger that's in the industry right now, there is a lot of thought out there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what if they become the new national MLS?
I mean, they have the data.
You know what I mean? You have all this anger from people going, I'm not giving it to my MLS. I'm going to give straight to them. Why can't, now I don't know that if people are going to do that, but if there's enough anger built up with this whole, you can't do percentage, you can't do whatever, and enough people start doing it, it does, even if it's not all the information, all of the homes, it's enough. And so there's a lot of up in the air right now, but we kind of know their intention now. They're the Super App.
That's going to be interesting to look into and see how it unfolds.
Beginning to end. We want them to be able to do everything on here. Like, that's what it says. Now, I think that they're still trying to hold on to the idea that you're still using an agent in that process. But boy, you do start to get to a place where you're like, it's such a thing because it's like, I'm all for innovation. I'm all for, and it's like, well, there's a better way to do things, an easier way to do things. But you're dealing with a home where there's like, potential liability and so much more that goes into it. Beyond just, go buy a pair of shoes online. It's a home I don't know that should be a connect to PayPal buy now.
I know. It's like your card.
You know,
Apple Pay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Wait a second. Let me call my credit card company. This got declined. What's that? Yes, that was my 1.4 million. And it's embarrassing. It declined right in front of no one because I'm on an app. You know, like it's just, you know, you're going to start hitting the button and just seeing a red line that you got declined. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, if you are not signed up for the Jared James Advance, Orlando, Florida, September 19th and 20th, this is your opportunity to do just that, guys. We have released our agenda, and we've got a lot to talk about. I mean, my God, it's almost overwhelming when I look at it, but we're going to do the normal things, right? We're going to talk about how to get listings. We're going to talk about how to take a transaction and multiply it into many others. We're going to talk about very timely things right now, how to eliminate that friction with buyers, and what are we saying, and what are the most common objection handlers right now. We're going to talk about what is the open house of the future look like, because that's a real opportunity. And so how do we take advantage of that? We're going to talk about AI, but in a practical sense, not just to overwhelm you and go, look, the world's changing, robots are taking over, you know, in a practical sense. We're going to talk about team building. We're going to talk about hiring assistants and scaling and all of these kinds of things. And if you're a broker, we'll talk about mergers and acquisitions, culture, retention, all of these things, guys. So I recommend go to jaredjamestoday.com/advance. Check out the agenda that's there. There might even be more things that are added. In fact, I just got a text message that someone else is going to join us that is not on that agenda just yet, so you're going to see that as well. But this is where you want to be, guys. We know there's a lot of changes happening, and this is where you come to be the pro. This is where you come to make sure that regardless of the changes that happen, you are the agent that is standing at the end because you were prepared. When the rules change, they change for everyone. And so what you do moving forward matters, and this is where the best come to get better. So jaredjamestoday.com/advance. And as always, this is our 10-year celebration. So if you don't have tickets yet to the 10-year celebration party on Friday night, the event is the 19th and 20th, but the actual after party, that ticket is separate. That's Friday night, the 20th. We've got a band coming in. We are going to have an absolute blast. Come and celebrate with us. So stay through to Saturday, guys. I cannot wait. Get yourself, your team, your brokerage, your colleagues. Get there, guys. I promise you, you will not regret it. I'm ready, guys. I got pages and pages of notes of stuff I have not released that I am just like, I cannot wait to be delivering there. So will I see you in Orlando? I hope so. See you there. I just saved the stuff for the advance. That's a good topic.
You know, but you are right. We love innovation, right? We run tech companies.
We love it.
We love streamlining things. But I mean, to completely eliminate like a realtor, an agent.
Yeah.
Is wild. But
hold on, and decline in front. I'm taking a note right now.
Oh, you are taking notes.
All right. Last thing I want to talk about was actually a topic that you.
It doesn't really. I mean, it was just interesting. A girlfriend of mine who is getting married fairly soon, has a registry for like a honeymoon registry, right? Instead of gifts, here's a fund for my honeymoon. Well, she was saying, how about they have a thing now called a house fund registry.
Yeah, it's great. I love that.
I'm like, that is so cool. Like, you get money, it's gifted to you. You could put it towards now your commissions on the buyer side, right?
Yeah.
Or closing costs, whatever it is, down payment. But then, like, I talked to you about this. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't there like regulations?
Well, this is what I said. You started saying that to me, and I said, do you know what bothers me? Is the first thing I thought of when you said that. I went, that's a great idea. Help people. Let's help them with home ownership. Is that we have become such a regulated country that you can't even do good things like that because you have to follow the rules. There's only a certain percentage you can get. It can only come from certain people. You can always, and I just looked at you and I went, why?
Yeah.
We are free people. What does that mean? Like, we should not have to, we start looking at, okay, how do we get around this? How do we get around that? And I just get to the point where I go, why are we having to?
Yeah.
Where did all these rules come from? It's like you have these presidential elections happening, and they'll talk about like, how many pieces of legislature have you been a part of? How many guys? What is legislature? Rules. We are now rewarding people for how many rules can you put down on the people, and it's like, who the hell are you to be telling us what we should be doing? And here's the funny thing: they never take away from them. They only add more rules because they need more on their resume. I was a part of that legislation. I was a part of that rule. I was a part of that. And it always reminded me of, like, I was walking down the boardwalk back when Jeff lived in San Diego. And so we're walking down in San Diego, California. We're walking down the boardwalk, and I look up, and there's this huge sign. It was more like a billboard now of just rules for the beach. And that just personally offends me. I'm just like, what are we doing? You know, it's a public beach. Like, and I looked at him and I said, has that sign always been there? And he's like, no. And then I said, did it always have all those rules? And he's like, no, it started with 1.
Yeah.
Now it had like 15. I go, have they ever taken a rule off of the sign? No. It only adds. It's just more rules, more rules, more rules.
I know.
And it's just the inside of me just turns because I'm just like, we are free people. Why do we have all of these rules we're trying to work around? You're trying to give people money to buy a home.
I know.
Well, wait, this section, you broke the law, this is that. And it's just like, why?
It's crazy. And then on top of that, I was looking into it. And just like your honeymoon registry or donation or fund, whatever you want to call it, they'll take a fee from it.
Of course.
Once you cash it. It's just like.
And we have just become so used to this. Like we
It's
literally have gotten to a point where it's like when the whole COVID thing was happening. Nobody asked any questions anymore. It was just like, put your mask on. And everybody's just like, that's been over. Like we've already this
we
isn't
went through
working.
that. We're done.
Like we're good. Like we're exactly. And anyway, it's just an interesting world that we're living in right now. So anyway, I think that's it for today.
Cool.
We will move on, and I think that's quite an interesting episode. Okay, so
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, share this with everyone else, guys. This is gonna be one you're gonna want to pay attention to for sure. Okay, and play it around your office because it matters. So, with that being said, guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure however you're watching this, leave a comment, whatever it is. I love you guys. There's just some crazy stuff going on right now, and as you can see, I get passionate about it because these are the people that I want to see do well. Overall. And I don't like the things that are happening, but you got 5 minutes, and on that 6th minute, we're going to turn it around. So,
hey, and if you want to see this passion in person, attend the advance.
September 19th and 20th, my wife just said that we can get passionate in person.
Let's do it.
You guys heard it? She just whored me out. She just offered me out to everybody if you want to get passionate in person. How dare you? Okay.
Oh my gosh. Hope to see you there.
All right, guys. Love you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.